We've been in contact with, a lot of teams clearly about the available starters on the marketplace, and it's an area of need that we've been trying to fill for a while, and we had targeted Happ as one of a few targets that were enviable, and so Ross Atkins and I have just stayed in touch and tried to negotiate his acquisition cost for quite some time, and finally made a decision to pull the trigger today. And obviously went through the medical process, and here we are. So hopefully he's going to be a welcome addition here. He's a veteran left-hander, has clearly had a lot of success, and pitched in the American League East, and I think he's going to be a welcome addition.
Brian, you said the other day that one of the issues you were having in acquiring a starting pitcher was that a lot of the targets were pitching worse as the deadline approached. His results have not been as good lately. How much of a concern was that before he made the move?
It's certainly something I was, utilizing to the best of my abilities. I at least tried to in my negotiation tactics with Ross Atkins, but I think Ross Atkins at the same time recognized he had one of the better available starters in the marketplace, and so he's held firm the last few number of days in terms of what his ask from us was, and it felt like a little bit of a stare down contest towards the end, and finally I decided, being an experienced executive in this game and knowing that I was a buyer, that I usually approach things as how would I feel if he wound up going in a different direction, and then I wound up pivoting and having to continue my journey looking for something I needed, and Jay Happ was someone we valued. So the last number of days I've been trying to determine would I be willing to pay this particular price, and today was the day I decided to push through on it. And so in his more recent performance, he's been struggling, as many other guys have as well, but I'm looking forward to him to, obviously coming in here and competing and fitting in with what we've got here and contributing. I mean, I needed a fresh arm that could give us some competitive innings, and I think at the very least he's going to do that, but I think there's a lot more upside than what he's recently pitched like, and, but like everybody else here, it's, these games count as we move forward every day, and hopefully we're going to get positive contributions for everybody that's written in that lineup by Aaron Boone.
Brendan.
You just mentioned why you said there's more upside there. Why do you see more upside? What do you think he can do better?
Well, I think he's had mostly a very successful campaign this year up until his more recent performance in the last 6 to 7 starts, and so I think he's probably more likely what you've seen over the landscape of this season rather than the more focused lens of the last month, and but we'll see.
And there's still a few days before the trade deadline. Do you envision making more moves, or do you see this probably being your roster for the second half?
Time will tell. I mean, we are definitely active, as everybody is, whether you're contending or not. Everybody is trying to figure ways to improve their roster, whether it's in the near term or the future, and so we'll play on that, on every level, and see if there's anything else we can run into that we feel comfortable enough to recommend ownership and hopefully improve this franchise. Again, our main focus is on the present, but that doesn't preclude obviously anything that can play on the future at the same time. So we are fully engaged as everybody else is. So I can't predict how it's going to play out, but we definitely satisfied some needs here in the more recent days, and again, hopefully they're beneficial moves.
Wally.
Cash, obviously Happ wasn't the only pitcher that you were looking at. There were a lot of names were out there. What factor was it that pushed you to settle on him? Was it because of the demands of the other side, because of the fact that he's pitched in the East, his success against Boston? What was it that made you settle on him?
I mean, but we like the pitcher. We always have, despite him not pitching here until now in the near future. He's obviously a very crafty lefty that has had a lot of success. He's got some swing and miss. He's navigated the landscape of this particular division already, so we know he's battle tested, in postseason. So it's just a veteran that's experienced the grind, and his makeup is supposed to be exactly the type of DNA that's already existing in this clubhouse, and so that's always checking a good box for us as well. And we did evaluate him as one of the better available starters in this particular trade market, and so he was on the wish list. And obviously we made that wish happen today by pushing through on this. But pushing through cost us obviously some players that we value at the same time, and Brandon Drury and Billy McKinney in their control years. So it doesn't come without a cost, and so we recognize that. But that's this obviously process works. So we're in the thankfully we're in a position to be in a buyer's position, and with that, you have to push some chips in the middle of the table if you want to play the game. And I could have played it out a little bit longer and sit and kind of wrestle with where it took us, but I thought that was too risky to do, and I wanted to make sure that we secured the one we wanted.
Dave,
Cash, you over here on your left.
Sorry.
You secured two of the more coveted players on the market, and obviously at Britton, a top reliever, and with Happ. How much did your system depth allow you to do that? I mean, there was obviously a lot of competition. I'm sure there are a lot of good offers too, but you managed to trump the rest of the field in both of those players.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that our pro department, our analytics department, our amateur scouting departments have all allowed us to grow a nice list of attractive names to other organizations, and the only reason we were able to pull off an Ian Happ deal or obviously more recently prior to that a Zach Britton deal is because we were able to trump other organizations. Baltimore got the best deal. That's why they chose us, and Toronto got the best deal. I truly obviously believe that, since we're the ones that possess the players and the trades, but I also know because it was hard for me to give up what we gave up on both cases. Yes, we navigated to stay away from certain guys, but it doesn't, mean we're not going to miss moving forward the guys we just lost in these trades. But they're there for eventual use at the major league level or eventual utilization to import players. And so hopefully when we have to make these tough decisions, we're making them wisely and they'll pay dividends for us. So we're about to find out as we move forward. Again, Happ's acquisition not only hopefully will impact our win column, but it's also going to provide, hopefully stabilized innings as we move forward, insurance policy as we move forward, because currently I'm, relying on what we currently have as well as the system behind it. And as we go through that process today, and this had nothing to do with it, but Domingo Germán was pitching today in Scranton, and he had to leave in the second inning with some bicep, I think it was bicep tendonitis or something. So I think he's still going to get diagnosed on whatever it is. But so, he's one of these active guys that we're playing around. If we don't make a move, he could come back up here within it and take his next turn, but that happened after we had already agreed and we're going through the medicals already. So, but that's an example of, when you make additions, and welcome these additions, they also provide, depth. In Happ's case, he just goes more towards the top of our line and pushes all that depth back a little bit. But it's all important, so we're certainly going to hope that Loisaga gets back, towards the end of August or at some point in September for us as a legitimate choice. And we hope everybody who's currently still active stays active for us, so when in need, we can turn to it if necessary.
John and Lindsay?
Even just over the last few years, how would you say the job of filling out a pitching staff and especially a bullpen has changed from your perspective?
Well, clearly you're seeing, I've been a GM now for 21 years, and so, the evolution of how this pen looks now is a lot deeper and stronger than it's ever been. And, I do every now and then wonder what it's going to look like in a few years, because you can't maintain something to this level, and that's performed so well for us. And, the job is to constantly have that feeder system coming and pushing it and adding to it. And, but this is a pretty impressive crew that, we have had to deploy over the last number of years, and we're thankful for their clear contributions to that win column, and we're hoping that we can keep relying on that type of performance as we move forward, because it is obviously a major strength, and we see how the game has changed over time and how managers are deploying their assets out of the pen much earlier in game competition and in playoff competition. And, we hope to be in a position to at least, we hope to put ourselves in a position that's a choice for us if we so, if we want it, if we so choose. So, but we got work to be done. That means adding to the roster, staying healthy, and winning enough games to qualify for postseason, and hopefully win a division first. So we'll see where it takes us. But yes, the game has changed a lot. The depth and the importance of the pen and the recognition of how important relievers are has changed a lot. And I think we might be Exhibit A as well as others. So,
Lindsay.
With the Happ acquisition and with Britton as well, what does that mean for some of the younger arms in your system down the stretch?
I mean, it just means that we don't necessarily have to turn to them at all costs, but we can turn to them when when necessary, and maybe deploy them, in a more, comfortable, setting, if that is possible in the New York scene during a pennant race. But we're not trying to stay necessarily away from what the kids that we have can or can't do, because obviously some of them have already had a positive impact on us. But there is the uncertainty as players take their next step in their journey about what they're going to provide. So obviously the veteran acquisitions are in theory can be counted on to predict what you're going to get, versus the unknown upside that somebody just starting their major league career in a pennant race is going to provide too. So I think you're going to get a chance to see some of the, certainly some of these guys that we haven't seen yet, take those next steps here in the coming months, and that'll be exciting. We've held on to those players for good reason, because we do think that their future is bright, and how bright that's going to be in the near term, I don't know, but at least hopefully with some of the additions that we've had, it's not going to be something we have to rely solely on. So,
Dan.
I'm sure this isn't what you expected when you traded for Drury. What do you make of what happened to him here?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an unfortunate circumstance. Obviously we had a young developing player that had a huge ceiling in Miguel Andujar that we assessed might take a little more time, and if so, we could import Brandon Drury, who had more experience at the major league level. We still felt he had untapped potential. We bring him in from Arizona, make a trade, obviously in March. We're excited about it. It might have been February, but we're excited about it, and it didn't play out the way we expected, because clearly he had been playing with a condition that he had concealed, from Arizona, and then kind of revealed it here. I mean, I'm proud about how our medical team, really, drilled down heavily on trying to determine, what was bothering him, what was the cause of it, and giving him the opportunity to put it behind him so he can be the best player he could possibly be moving forward and just concentrate on the game he loves, which is playing baseball. Why all that was taking place, here comes Miguel Andujar knocking the door down and taking his opportunity and saying, I'm not going to give it back. And that's business. It's the business of the game, and it's survival of the fittest. And I respect Brandon Drury's professionalism as he addressed an area of need, which was his health. I'm proud that our medical personnel solved the issue and was allowed him to find the comfort level and the healing process to take place and put that behind him. But then when all that took place, obviously, there was Miggy standing strong and standing tall, and so now Brandon Drury's going to have to sit in the background waiting for his opportunity, not rooting against Miggy, rooting for Miggy, but at the same time personally frustrated about being blocked, having to be a major league player back in AAA. It was certainly a challenge mentally for him. But he went about his business the best way he possibly could, despite the frustration. He didn't demand a public trade. He didn't demand a private trade. He didn't tear up his locker or vent in the press. We had some personal conversations about it clearly and professionally and diplomatically on both ends, and obviously this is a manifestation, I think, of that ultimately, where he's going to be in a better position in the theory moving forward. Not, has a clearer lane to be, I would think, where he, deserves to be. Certainly hope he doesn't do damage against us, but I wish him the best of luck as his major league career continues. And it's not, from his perspective, I mean, on all due respect, Scranton's a franchise spot for us and a place we're proud to call our AAA home, but it's not a place he wanted to call home. He wanted to be, in one of the 30 major league cities and playing the game, the level and the competition that Brandon Drury loves. And so he's got that opportunity to do that again without worrying about, oh, wow, there's another move coming down the pike, and is it going to be me, and am I going to be sent back down? So at least on our watch, that's not something he has to worry about anymore.
Those conversations with Brandon, did that motivate you more to move him because of that situation?
I would say, yeah, a little bit, but only in the right circumstance. He was not acquired here to be a depth piece. He was not acquired to here. I didn't bring him in here to be an insurance policy sitting at AAA. That's not why, any of that the whole transaction happened. So given the new world order that we live in with Miguel Andujar, and the pride we have of the career he's made for himself and the career he's going to have, it changed the landscape of what we were looking at, and so it made him more of a trade piece now, and a trade piece he was. I was certainly having a lot of activity on him. A lot of teams had opportunities. A lot of teams took shots, and up until this day, this was the one that I was willing to make. But we certainly had a lot of dialogue on it. So he's going to provide some flexibility and control and upside for another organization now, and we wish him the best of luck there, and as his career continues. And certainly sorry that it didn't work out to the degree any of us wanted, him or us. But at the same time, proud that we're able to solve what ails him and put that behind him, and that's no longer something he has to worry about. So from a health standpoint, and so he's plug and play, ready to go, and looking forward to contributing to his new team and new organization.